Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and also good evening, depending on when you're listening to this uh, video explanation of the Cisco CyberOps LMS slides. So this is the 28th module training curriculum for Tier 1 SOC analysts. We've done up to module 13, and this is the 14th module in the series. And in this module, we're going to be discussing common threats and attacks. So, what's like the objective for this module? We want to look at different types of malwares. We want to explain reconnaissance, access, and social engineering, network attacks. We want to be able to understand denial of service, buffer overflow, and evasion attacks. Malware. So, what is a malware? Any guy that is going to cause system malfunction, that is going to damage, that is going to disrupt, that is going to steal, that is going to inflict some kind of bad or illegitimate action on a data host network, web, cloud, email, server, or client, you call that a malware. Now, malware, we have several classes. So it can be virus, trojan, spyware, ransomware, and the rest. Now, it's important that you get to the Cisco LMS and watch a very short video that simulates and discusses this. So this is virus, this is Trojan, and the types. Uh, they can be classified based on how they operate, uh, what kind of data they transmit, or if they operate on the background to steal information and the rest. So this is all about it. So you have remote access, you have data sending, or what to call data exfiltration. That is this guy here, data sending. Then you have destructive, you have proxy, FTP, and the rest. So a Trojan is going to be something that looks like a legitimate application, but it's not. But it's doing any of this. So the attack methodology can be same, but the purpose might not be same. That's one of the things you do in forensic, or one of the things you do when you're trying to check for vulnerability, you're trying to check for the impact of an after attack or the impact of an attack. One of the things you are doing, you're trying to know why. You're trying to know the reason. What are they trying to do? Do they need remote access? Do they need to exfiltrate data? Do they want to destroy files? So because it can be the same methodology, but the purpose might differ. Of course, you have worms. You have okay. You have worms. Uh, you can watch this video on the Cisco LMS to see how a worm have a payload, propagate itself, and now enable vulnerability that cannot be exploited on. Okay, so that's the explanation there. Uh, this just tells you about the stages. Propagate for 19 days, launch a DS attack in 7 days, stop and go dormant for a few days, repeat the cycle. So we know a worm as that will always spread. And of course, for a ransomware, it's majorly collecting data, hiding them, or encrypting them. That's the word. Encrypting them and demanding for cash, for ransom, for money. Okay, then we have other types like the scareware, phishing, rootkit, spyware, and of course adware. There was a time in 2007, right? I experienced the Raila Odinga virus. The Raila Odinga, rather, I will call it an adware. What does it do? It just throws up a web page and tells you vote for Raila Odinga. Now, it will pop out stuffs, not necessarily will they harm your system, so to say, but that disturbance, uh, that making you not being able to use your time properly, right? That's not what most users want. So, and they're always annoying. So you call that an adware. So when do you seem to say you have an indicator of a compromise? Common malware behaviors. You have strange files in your program desktop icons or in your system processes. So you want to analyze by using the sys internal suite. I've talked about this a lot. So you want to check if are these guys trying to turn off your antivirus and firewalls. Your systems, are they crashing? Are they freezing? Do you have emails spontaneously sending stuffs about uh, your data without your knowledge, and several others? So once you see this, you likely under attack. So you might have compromise of an attack. Okay, this is a lab. So common network attacks. So it can be a reconnaissance type of attack. It can be an access attack. It can be a denial of service attack. And one thing you need to know about the denial of service attack is, what do you call denial of service? Now, there are several services that you have running within your network. So it can be your print service, it can be your web service, it can be your network service, it can be any of your services that you're running. Now, and once you don't have access to this service, that means you are being denied service. And don't forget, I talked about an attack methodology and a purpose. So you can have a Trojan, and that's the methodology, but the purpose is for a denial of service. Maybe so that you cannot upload to a website anymore. And what strategy can we use to facilitate that attack? We can use what we call upload bombing. So, what is upload bombing? You get to a website, because the developers don't have security in design. So they developed the website in such a way that they did not check for maximum file size. They did not check for file type. So if they check for file type, what are they going to be doing is that they're going to say, okay, you can only upload PNG or JPG. That is pictures, right? We don't want any other file type because this is just for your passport. So, but a novice developer that just picks up a template anywhere and tries to develop the website, what it's going to be doing is that it's going to pick up any template, it's going to look nice, it's going to look fanciful, but you're not going to have security. What an attacker can likely do is that, since this form does not do what we call input validation, it does not validate whatever input the attacker is using or putting up on the website. So the attacker can upload any size. A passport size shouldn't be more than an MB. Even if it's going to be high definition, for document processing purposes, should not exceed even 500 kilobytes, and it's going to be as smart as should be. So why are we going to have a 5 MB or a 10 MB picture? We shouldn't. Or a CV. Our CV should be in doc or docx or PDF. We shouldn't be having an Excel file as what's it called, on a recruitment portal as a CV. So if a developer does not check that, what happens is that somebody with a very nice or fast internet, and it can even be free for the person, he can upload a 1 gig file, 10 gig file, 3 gig file, 20 MB file. They can be themes, they can be executable files, they can be gibberish. What now happens, which you call, this is upload bombing. What now happens is that the file size, database, file systems of the website becomes filled up. Of course, the website now becomes
unavailable to other persons to actually use them. So what do you call that? You call that denial of service. The legitimate users have not been made to have denial of service. Why? Somebody exploited a vulnerability in the web application and made it possible for, or rather made it impossible for legitimate users to now use the website. So you have different categories of attacks. So even the reconnaissance attacks we have on our network, it's possible we have that on our web application. So reconnaissance attacks, access attack, and DOS attack. So I've explained reconnaissance quite a bit. So these are the different techniques. So please log on to your Cisco learning management platform and check through most of these videos. They will concretize what we've been learning. Look at this ping sweep. What do you call a ping sweep? For instance, if I want to ping southernventures.com, so I say ping, I go to my CLI, my command line interface, I say ping southernventures.com and I hit enter. Of course, I'm going to get the domain name server, I'm going to get the IP address, I'm going to get, what else will I get? Or I could just ping 192.168.8 point something. That is a simple ping. But you call a ping sweep when you're trying to ping across a range of IP addresses. And what would be the purpose for an attacker to do that? It might be for him to discover. I think I discussed in great length about Nmap in my previous model. So in order for me not to repeat myself, so you can recap, you could refresh yourself, your memory by going back to, I think, 2-3 modules away from module 14. So Nmap will help us to discover live pods, fingerprint OS, and several other things. So these are the type of attacks that we can have on our network. Okay, please, you have a short video that is 2.5 minutes that explains most of these things on the Cisco Learning Management System. So please log on to it, and if you have any questions, ask on the mentorship group. Access attack. You also have social engineering attacks, pretexting, and the rest. These are basics. You could read them up and make your notes. Look at this one, quid pro quo, right? I think this is Latin or Espanol. So something for something. You see a disgruntled employee that has not been paid salary for the last 6 months, and the person is offered, please get all this information about your company. We're going to give you this in exchange. We're going to give you such amount of dollars, such amount of money. So that kind of attack, that kind of social engineering attack, which can also classify as an insider attack, is what we call quid pro quo, or something for something. Okay, don't forget, you need to strengthen your weakest link. Cybersecurity is as strong as its weakest link. That's why we say social engineering is often exploited for most IT infrastructures that have very good security at the software layer. And we also mentioned, I think in our first module, when we started looking at the danger, that a SOC team or a security operations center is going to be exploring people, processes, and technology. So you don't just need only technology, gadgets, Wi-Fi, routers, softwares, and the rest in order to stay protected. You need a process. That's to say you need to continuously do security audit, vulnerability assessment, penetration testing. You need to continuously review your information security policy documents. You need to continue to explore your playbooks. Then, of course, for people, you need to do social engineering training from time to time. People need to be aware, people need to understand what is susceptible to an attack, what is prone to an attack, do we have any likelihood of an attack? So people process technology is like a tripod that you can use to ensure that you are secured. Then people, which is our weakest link, that's where social engineering comes in. Okay, denial of service, buffer overflow, and evasion. I've already explained denial of service, so you can explore that 2 minutes video to have more idea about it. But there's difference between denial of service and distributed denial of service. So a denial of service is where you have one-to-one attack. A distributed denial of service is where you have many to one attack. So you have one target, but you have hundreds, if not more than that, trying to attack one PC. So you have two short videos also, 2 minutes on the LMS. Please watch them to see how this attack can be simulated. Okay, so buffer overflow. Anytime you hear the word buffer overflow, think about memory, right? Think about allowable amount of flow of data. So when we go beyond what, take for instance, if you have a Windows 10 operating system or you have a system with 8 gig RAM, it's going to be able to be fast to some point. You can open, let's say, 10, 15, 20 tabs, browsers, applications. If you get to a point where your system cannot buffer, it cannot keep in wait and process simultaneously and segment those amount of work you're trying to give it to do, what's going to happen is that you're going to have a buffer overflow, it's going to crash, and your system is going to kind of freeze up. So attackers can exploit that memory related flaw on the system, cause the system send so much packets of data, cause the system to go into a zombie mode, then an attack can now be exploited. Okay, so how do we evade attack? What are the evasion techniques? Encryption, resource exhaustion, traffic fragmentation, protocol level misinterpretation, traffic substitution, traffic insertion, pivoting, rootkit, proxies. And these are the different ways that evasion can be done. Okay, that's the summary of the common threats and attacks that we have. Majorly reconnaissance, network attacks, and access attacks. These are kind of network attacks that we have within our enterprise. So that's the summary of the module 14 of the 28th module series of the Cisco CyberOps training. Thank you very much and see you in module 15.